Hey guys, we are kicking off Grill Week with a fun display of grilling, and we're going to talk about food safety when you grill, and then also about cuts of beef and all sorts of stuff.
So we're out here today on Monday afternoon at the Beloit Courthouse, and as Ashley mentioned, we've got a couple different topics that we wanted to discuss. We know it's a really hot time of year to get out and barbecue, especially with the 4th just coming right around the corner here on Wednesday. So on the grill today, we do have a couple of strip steaks, we've got a group of hamburgers, and then we also have some skewers for kebabs there to make a great summertime meal, I suppose.
Yes, add some color to it and get those vegetables in it, because vegetables and fruit are a great pairing with the beef and other meat. So a little bit of food safety that we want to touch on with this. We know it's hot out, so when we have food sitting out waiting to get on the grill, we want to get it on the grill as fast as we can. And if there are leftovers, we want to get that put up quickly too. If it's hotter than 90 degrees, you get 1 hour to get that back in the fridge. Another thing we want to point out is that when we take the meat off the grill, we're not going to use the same dish or baking sheet that we use to put the meat on the grill, because we don't want to cross-contaminate the raw meat with the cooked meat. So I've separated them out here, or if you don't have a lot of baking dishes, once you put it on the grill, go wash it and then bring it right back out.
So what do you say we flip the burgers, and then I can share a little bit more about some different cuts if you want to take temps and make sure that we're cooked appropriately. So you'll notice over here we've got kind of a chart of most of our primals, and then it broken down into retail cuts. And as we mentioned, we've got a couple of these on the Traeger today. We do have a strip steak, or what we refer to as a top loin steak. You'll also notice, and that's a half of a T-bone. If you're having your own animals processed, or if a T-bone's something that you like to get when you go out and order a steak, that's going to be basically the long half. Of course, the other half of the T-bone is mixed with a filet or a tenderloin. And basically, cuts of meat out of the loin are going to be jam-packed with flavor, a true beef flavor. That's going to be kind of their claim to fame. Also, our strip steak here today is going to be relatively lean, especially compared back to another barbecue or grill favorite, the ribeye, which is something that's a little bit richer. It has a little bit more marbling, but with that maybe does carry a little bit more external fat or edge fat along the cut of meat. Of course, ground beef we mentioned. Ashley's at our grill. She's going to make sure that we have everything temped to basically 160 or 165, Ashley?
160 for ground beef.
For ground meat, it's 160, and that's how we can ensure that we're at a safe level and the appropriate level of doneness for our burgers in particular here today. We're also looking, and Ashley will visit with you a little bit more on proper temps for all cuts of meat. I think it's...
For steak, 145.
145 for our steak cuts, and that's again where we get to in appropriate levels of doneness. 145 we still find we can get basically right there at a medium and still have a very juicy and appropriately cooked cut of beef.
Okay, and another thing we wanted to point out, when we went to the grocery store and we were looking at ground beef, we wanted to choose lean. So what we would recommend for lean is picking 90-10 and up. This particular choice that we made was 95-5. So do you think we're ready to temp?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good shot.
And for the burgers, we are looking at 160. And for the burgers, when you temp your burger, you're going to temp it right in the middle here. Going. We're at 140, so we are not ready yet. Take this little guy out of here. some assistance. There we go. And I will go in and clean this off because it didn't hit the right temperature, so we need to make sure it's clean before we stick it back and test it again. And another thing we make sure that we did before we grilled is we washed our hands. And after we put the raw meat on the grill, since we were touching the raw meat, we wanted to make sure we washed our hands. Okay, and I actually might not rinse that one off because I have another thermometer we might use too. There's plenty of different kinds of thermometers that you can choose. This one we have here, it's a little more expensive, but it is still pretty reasonable when you're talking about food safety. If you've ever gotten food poisoning, it's definitely worth the money to spend on these. And then these ones are quite a bit cheaper, just a couple dollars, and you can get these about anywhere. Okay.
So, and there's a couple different reasons, and maybe you mentioned it while I was flipping steaks, but as far as color goes, a lot of people think, well, if it's completely done, you know, the middle of the burger will be brown, or, you know, vice versa. If it's not brown, maybe we're not completely done. But there's a couple different reasons that doesn't quite hold true.
Yes.
And premature browning, which would be like if somebody picked up a package of hamburger from whatever grocery store and maybe there's still a little bit of brown in the middle or something that you didn't see when you bought it, as well as persistent pinking, which is if you're browning a bunch of hamburger and you know it's to the right temps and stuff like that, and it still comes up a little bit pink in some areas. Some of those can take place, but as Ashley mentioned, if you always have it cooked to the correct temp, you can handle that. Is that right, Ashley?
Yes, yeah, you definitely can't tell by color if something is done. What I like to think of is bacteria and microorganisms don't care what color a piece of food, a piece of meat is, or other kind of food, but they care what temperature it's at, and that once it reaches the minimal internal temperature, that's when they're killed off. So next time you go to the grocery store, kind of look at the different cuts of meat, especially ground meat, and some might be bright red and some might be brown. That's just kind of a good display to show you that you cannot tell doneness just by color. It's definitely important to check temperatures. And if you don't have a thermometer in your house, they are nice gifts to give for Mother's Day or Father's Day, or even just go pick one up next time you're at the store. But you should always use a food thermometer. What do we think?
More time, I guess. They were at 140.
Yes. Check the steaks.
We can.
Think on those.
Get there.
Okay. Are there any questions going on? Are you guys ready for the 4th? We're just waiting on this food to grill.
I'm getting pretty hungry.
I know.
Honestly.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Well, once the burgers are done, I made sure to get some whole wheat buns, and then we slice up some onion and tomatoes and put some spinach on there so that we can get more vegetables.
So we chose to stick mainly to beef today. Obviously that's a really, really popular item. We talked about a holiday coming up. Holidays are when a lot of people maybe go out and are willing to spend a little bit more money on that really good cut of steak. Our steaks today are top choice, so I'm pretty excited to get those off the grill and cut up and dive into them. But we stuck with that concept because, is it correct that beef has the most nutrients per calorie of any source meat? Or
yes.
of all meats, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
They are packed with lots of vitamins and minerals, and a good thing to take into account is the serving sizes for this. The serving size of lean meat is going to run you about 150 calories, and it's the size of a deck of cards. So keep that in mind. If you have a big steak, keep in mind how many servings that you should be eating. And he mentioned that we chose to just stick with beef today, but I want to mention that if you're cooking chicken, we thought about cooking some chicken, but the temperature for that is 165 degrees for all poultry. we chose not to marinate our steaks or anything else, but if you do use a marinade, if you do use a marinade, make sure that you do not reuse that marinade. It's best to throw it away so that we can keep everything nice and safe.
So, you know, back kind of to our chart here, we had to boil it down again. We only have so much space on the grill, but there's lots of good options, as you can tell, and I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're either maybe hopefully thinking about what you're going to throw on the grill here in a couple days, or you already have some ideas. And some different options come into play. Again, we mentioned the filet or the tenderloin. It says tender right in the name, guys. That's a great option to throw on there in terms of juiciness, flavor, and tenderness. Obviously, that's going to be one of your greatest cuts of meat. We also have different things that Shannon, our wonderful camera person, that treats us so well and tries to make us all look good, actually mentioned the London broil as something that she had before, and that's going to be made up of our top round steak, and in Shannon's words, it was absolutely phenomenal. So if you've had a London broil and were curious what cut that may have come from, it does come out of the round, which is going to be kind of the back quarter of the animal, and that's going to be the muscle that they deem as the top round. Other options, kind of a popular one, I think we've got hopefully a video that'll come up later at some point in Grill Week, but we do discuss the chuck eye. And that's going to be a very affordable option. That's going to be a great alternative to kind of the king of steaks, in my words, I guess, the ribeye. And basically the difference is the chuck eye, as we look here to our chuck primal of the animal, is going to be out of the 5th rib, and it's going to be right along the same lines as the ribeye, but to qualify to be a ribeye steak, they have to be cut between the 6th and 12th rib. So it's typically a little bit smaller cut, but similar in terms of marbling, similar in terms of flavor. It's going to be a cut that, as I mentioned, is maybe more affordable. It's the more affordable alternative to our ribeye. If you're joining us live right now, take a look at our chart and see if there's something on there that you're curious about, or see if there's something on there. Give us a shout out as to what you're going to have on the grill. This porterhouse looks pretty tasty to me. A porterhouse steak's pretty hard to beat, especially if you've got a big appetite that particular day.
Might be the burgers. I have tested 2 of them, and they have reached the temperatures. They read about 170. So those 2 are going to be safe. We'll put those out so they can have a 3-minute rest. I wasn't able to get this into the steak, so I'm going to need Barrett's help.
Do you want to take them off first, or do you want to tempt the steak first?
We can take them off.
Pressure's on.
Yeah, those 2. Hold one of those burgers, I can turn it. All right, we are good there. We're definitely doing this in style. There we go. Okay, burgers were done. Yes, now we'll tempt the steak. We're gonna stick it right in through the side like we did for the burgers. And we are at 150, so we are good to go on that one. This does not want to come out. Okay. These tongs are kind of trouble.
Pretty graceful.
All right. Right in the middle again there. good on that one at 154. Okay. And again, this was a clean platter, not the one that we used with the raw meat. And I like my vegetables pretty when they get crispy on the grill, so we're gonna let those also cook. Okay.
Do you want to serve up?
Sure. It's been about, how long has it been?
Not 3 minutes, actually. Good point.
We'll wait a little bit on that. Are there any questions on there? Anybody have a favorite food that they like to grill? I really like skewers or kebabs with the meat in it. We decided to do just steaks and burgers and then have the veggie kebabs to itself, but I love that. Another thing you can put with your steaks and burgers is a good salad. I also thought about making that with just lettuce, throw any kind of vegetable in there, and strawberries and blueberries are really good with salad too. You can just put your favorites on there, and they're great items to bring to a 4th of July barbecue. And just make sure if you do have an outside barbecue, and it's going to be hot out, I think high of 100 maybe on Wednesday, so if you are grilling and if you have a barbecue outside, make sure that that food gets up in the fridge within an hour so that we don't get any harmful bacteria. Well, we can show you over here. And we had our burgers covered over here so that nothing gets in them, but we have our spinach, tomato, onions on here. Plop it on there. And we'll get the rest of it.
Looks good.
Alright. Well, if you guys do have anything, any of your favorites that you like, or if you have any questions, we'll look back on this and answer those for you. But we really thank you for tuning in, and we hope you have an awesome grill week.